My name's Phil Hourigan, and this is my garden at the Dairy Cottage in Longhirst.
Tell us a little bit about your garden, how big it is and how much work goes into it.
Sure. Well, we moved here around 5 years ago, and the attraction for us of coming here was the garden, the size of it. It runs to about an acre. We both like wildlife a lot and have two very active children, so it doubles as a football pitch. It's also a nature reserve for all the various wildlife that we get here, but there's also an element of planting, which is my side of it, and that resulted from a deal I think I did with the children a little while ago, where I said, that's your football pitch and these are my borders on my side, and it's developed really with the help of the open gardens, because the open gardens is something that comes along every 2 years, and it's a milestone for me that every 2 years I try and do something different and try and improve what we have here. And getting involved came when I was working in the garden, and a neighbour happened to see that I was interested in its upkeep and suggested that I would like to open the garden the following summer. So I was volunteered for it, and then that sounded fine, but then the reality of what we'd agreed to then began to set in, and I thought, well, I really must do something, and what it does do is it just gives you a bit more purpose and something to aim for.
So when was the first one that you took part in?
Sure, this is now our fifth year here, so this is our third open garden that we've done, and each one, the first year we hadn't done an awful lot to it at all, just tidied it up a little bit, and each year I would promise to whoever came around that if they came 2 years hence, then they would see some differences, and so when the following 2 years came around, I felt I really had to do something, so I've carried on that for each subsequent garden. I've added to it and tried to improve what we've got.
So what sort of people come and look at the garden, and what's their reaction?
Yeah, well, the pleasing thing for me is that we get people who've been to the previous two open gardens, and they've come back and they've noticed a difference in it, and they've said they'll come back next time and see what I've done. There are some real enthusiasts, real garden enthusiasts, and they worry me because they know a huge amount more about gardening than I ever will, and they ask me some very, very tricky questions, and most of which I can't answer, but I do my best. And you get people who are total novices who might just be coming for a day out and a look around the village, and everything in between. So we get all sorts, and I think the last time that we opened up 2 years ago, we had across the 2 days coming through my garden around 500 people, so an awful lot of people to tell the story to.
So do you learn anything from these visitors?
Yeah, certainly the garden enthusiasts will have their own ideas and be able to tell them to me. Sometimes people will tell me that'll never flower there, I don't know what you're playing at, and you know, I go away with my tail between my legs, and the reaction of others is fantastic when they kind of are blown away sometimes by some of the colour, and also it's nice when people go away with some ideas I've been able to give them that they're able to take into their own gardens.
And I believe that to a certain extent your garden work has become a bit of a partnership.
A partnership, yes, I suppose. The partnership is with Sean Murray, and Sean won the Chelsea Garden Challenge on the BBC One programme several years ago now, and I was fortunate enough to see him at Longhirst Village Hall a few years ago, and invited him down to see my garden, and I had an idea of some of the things that I wanted to do, which I'd sketched out on graph paper, and Sean had a look and told me what I could do and what I couldn't do, and modified the plans and gave me some great ideas. So he then went away and introduced me to a landscape gardener who could help me put them into action. And we're now under phase 2. Phase 2 has just been done. Phase 2 of probably about 6 phases, I think, looking at the size of the garden and what I need to do over the coming years. But yes, the second phase has just been done, and that is the second collaboration with Sean and the landscape gardener.
And what do you think the garden does for you? What does it give to you?
Sure. I think it gives me a lot of pleasure. It gives me a lot of satisfaction. It gives me a lot of thinking time. I can relax, I can unwind. I'm often in the garden at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm often there at 9:30 at night. So it's time, and I just like to see things grow. And I also am very keen on the wildlife, and we get a lot of wildlife coming in the garden. So it's great just to sit on an evening when I'm finished doing the gardening and just look at all the wildlife around and hear the birds singing, and there's a lot of nest boxes around, and there's often robins and blackbirds will come down when I've been doing some weeding and pick at the worms that have been disturbed. It's nice to be in amongst it.
So the open garden competition is something of an incentive for you to do well, is it?
It is, and it's interesting you use the word competition, because we joke about that, and I can be quite competitive. We're all doing our bit for the village, so it's not a competition as such, but I think we all try and show our gardens to the best, and so I joke about other gardens that I know are better than mine, that I'm trying to get somewhere near them, but it's a good few years before I'll get anywhere near some of them, because there are some fantastic gardens in the village, and yes, it's a great incentive for me, because not many people come and see it otherwise, so I get the opportunity to show off what we've done in the preceding 2 years, and gives me some idea of what I need to do, and planning for the next open gardens, which is 2 years on.